Let's do Rob Walker's vinyl tag for 2023. Ahoy hi everybody, and welcome to this year's vinyl tag. So for those of you who don't know, a vinyl tag is a series of videos done by different people answering a number of questions, in this case related to vinyl and particularly their vinyl purchases of 2022. Not exclusively, as you will find out, but that's sort of the genesis of it. This year, as he did last year, Rob Walker has set up a vinyl tag. I do urge all of you to check out Rob Walker's channel. He's a good friend and he makes great videos. And he's very funny as well. Very dry sense of humour. He's done 20 questions. Without any more ado, let's get into it. So question 1 was your favourite new album of 2022. So for those of you who've watched my favourites video, this is no surprise to you because I mentioned it then as my favourite album of the year. This is For All Our Days That Tear the Heart by Jessie Buckley and Bernard Butler. I won't go into too much detail. If you want more about it, watch that video. Suffice to say, it is an absolutely brilliant album. Question 2 is show an album by the last act you saw live. Could be that you an act you saw live in 2022. If it was further back that you last saw a band live, then that's fine. As it is, I saw a few artists in 2022, which again I did mention on that video. But the last one that I saw was actually The Pretty Reckless, who I saw at Southampton Guildhall in, I think it was the start of November. If not, it was October, but I think it was the start of November. This is their most recent, their most recent proper album, Death by Rock and Roll. They have recently released another album whose name I've forgotten, which is sort of acoustic songs, versions of these sort of songs and covers and things like that. Ocean something, I'll pop it on the screen. It's had a CD release and obviously digitally. Vinyl is coming out, I think it's either later this month or next month, which I have on pre-order. But yeah, Pretty Reckless of a band. This was the first album I heard from them. I won't open it up because boobies, but I will show you the vinyl because it's pretty. Not that the boobies aren't. Yeah, they're a band I'd heard a lot about, and obviously Taylor Momsen has an attraction. So I bought this album when it came out and enjoyed it very much. So when they announced, not only were they touring over here, but they were playing Southampton, which is about an hour's drive for me, I thought, oh, I'm going to go to that, and I did. That prompted me to buy their back catalogue, all on CD, although, what's it called? Can't remember, but one of their other albums came out as Picture Disc on Record Store Day, and I picked that up as well. And so yes, sort of binged those albums, ready for the gig, and enjoyed them all. And it was a very good gig. I enjoyed it a lot. I could have done without a 10-minute drum solo, and I could have no, that was the only gripe, sorry. I could have done without a 10-minute drum solo. They had to cancel the next gig on the tour because Taylor was ill and was struggling to sing. This was the next day. You would never have known. She said she was suffering at Southampton, but you would never have known. She was in magnificent voice. But yeah, last band I saw live was Pretty Reckless. The next category, question 3, is a debut album that is the band's best album. And for me, that is definitely Appetite for Destruction by Guns N' Roses. I enjoy all their albums. I do enjoy the Use Your Illusion album. I say I enjoy all their albums. Chinese Democracy I have listened to once and have no real desire to revisit. But proper Guns N' Roses albums I enjoy very much, and I'm a big fan of them. But they never surpassed Appetite. Just going to let Willow out. Question 4 is show a hat trick. That's an album that you have on cassette, CD and vinyl. If you didn't have such a thing, then if you have it on 2 formats, that's fine. I have a few available ones. I thought I would show this, which is Chaz and Dave's last album, A Little Bit of Us. So there we have a cassette signed by both Chaz and Dave. Nice old school style cassette as well, but a fairly basic inlay. And the CD copy, again signed by them both. Very good album this as well. And then the vinyl. Oh, that's from that. The vinyl. And this came, it's just black vinyl, I believe. Yeah, just black vinyl, nothing exciting there. This came with a signed print from a Royal Albert Hall gig. So that was bought as a bundle from their web store. Next was show an album whose title begin and end with the same letters. There was a few I could have picked. Surprisingly, not as many as I thought there would be when I went through my Discogs, particularly when concentrating on vinyl. But it is Confunction's album Secrets, which obviously begins and ends with S. I'm sort of on the fence with Confunction. I've picked up a couple of their albums. They're good solid funk, but not quite top of the range. Oh, I must get everything they've done funk. You know, this cost me £8, so £7.20 with my discount. I think, you know, I'll pay sort of up to that for any of their albums, but I wouldn't want to pay any more. Question number 6 is to show an album by someone born in the same year as me. So I was born in 1975 on the 11th of March. How many days later? I did make a note. 6 days later, Mr. Justin Hawkins was born, lead singer and guitarist with The Darkness, and somebody whose YouTube channel I thoroughly recommend. So this is their album Easter is Cancelled, signed by the band. Frankie, Dan, Rufus and Justin. Which version did I grab? I've got a couple of versions of this. Is this coloured? No, this is the black vinyl. I think it was orange vinyl, the other one. But I saw them do that whole album live, which was excellent. Question 7 is the most listened to album of the year. Almost by default, because I ended up buying 10 copies of this album. Some of you will know what that is. It is Midnight by Taylor Swift. So yeah, I have listened to every copy that I bought. This is randomly picked out, the lavender marbled vinyl. So yes, there are 5 different coloured vinyl pressings, and I bought all 5. And then, oh, and they are so pretty. You can't quite tell without the light behind it, but the marbling is just so good on these. Yeah, and then I bought the standard cassette. I'd pre-ordered anyway. CD rather. I'd pre-ordered anyway, and then I bought the 4 different coloured and covered signed CDs through her website as well. So yeah, I ended up with 10 copies of Midnight by Taylor Swift. So that's the album I've listened to most. The next question is the artist I've listened to most, and it was almost certainly The Divine Comedy. So this is their best of Charmed Life. It was released at the start of this year, or start of 2022 rather. This was their web store exclusive version, which came on gold. And silver. I do recommend this best of for people who are curious. It pretty much covers everything you would want. There's a couple of notable omissions, but they can't put absolutely everything on. But yeah, it's a nice overview of the career. So I've listened to this on both CD and cassette. Why do I keep saying cassette? CD and vinyl. Then saw them live promoting this. Then I did my album ranking for them, so I listened to all the albums for that, both on vinyl and digitally. I'd ripped the CDs and I was playing them in the car, driving about, and listened to all of those in their entirety again on that. But then I also kept them on shuffle, ready for seeing them do their 5 nights at the Barbican. So I saw them play their first 10 albums in full over 5 nights at the Barbican, which I'm sure most of you have heard me talk about enough. So I heard all those, and they now, because pretty much what's on my phone is complete works of Divine Comedy, complete works of Pretty Reckless, and then stuff I've bought off iTunes. They keep coming up on shuffle anyway. So yeah, the act I've listened to most is my favourite band anyway, The Divine Comedy. So question number 9. Rob has been listening over the last year or so to quite a lot of Australian artists, so he wanted us to show an Australian band or artist. My mind instantly leapt to Kylie, but I thought that was a bit of an obvious one. And I thought, well, maybe Danny, but again, fairly obvious. But I'm guessing I'm probably the only person who's going to show this. I might be wrong, but this is Tim Minchin's album, Apart Together. So comedian, writer, etc. Tim Minchin has released a number of comedy albums, but this was his first proper album. There's comedic elements to a lot of the songs, but they're largely straight songs. Clear vinyl with a sort of red blob in the middle. Massive lyric booklet. Signed print. It's a good album. I like it as an album. I would prefer a comedy album from him. My biggest gripe with his most recent live tour, which I saw him on at Portsmouth Guildhall, and then they've just released the Blu-ray of, which I watched the day it arrived, is that there's too many songs from this played and not enough funny songs. But yeah, there's some really good stuff on here. Talk Too Much, Stay Too Long is probably the highlight for me. Question 10, is it? Yeah, question 10 is a surprising purchase. So, regulars to my channel know I have pretty eclectic taste in music. You know, I'm as likely to buy a album by Shaky as I am to buy something from... I'm trying to think of somebody. You know, in the same hall, I'll show a heavy metal album and an easy listening album and a funk album and a singer-songwriter album. You know, I have eclectic tastes, a jazz album. So there's not much that really should really shock people when I show it. But one that may have done, and it's a recent purchase, and I showed off both in my end of month haul and in the haul video when I bought this. For people who watch my channel will know I'm not a Fleetwood Mac fan, and one of the main reasons is I can't stand Stevie Nicks' voice. So the fact that I bought Stevie Nicks' The Wild Heart album will surprise many people, although those of you who know that Prince features on the track Stand Back will be less surprised, because that was the only reason I bought it. Question 11 is... 11? Keep having to check the numbers. Yes. An artist you're complete on. There's lots of artists I'm complete on over different formats. A few I'm complete on vinyl. You know, obviously the shorter or the smaller the catalogue, the easier that is. But I thought I'd show the Blue Tones. So I have all their albums, thankfully, because they've all been reissued over the last 2 or 3 years. Some of these I have multiple copies of from different, you know, expanded editions and what have you as well, but these are just the basic albums. The Blue Tones. Next question, question 12, is a great run of 3 albums. So that's 3 consecutive albums by the same artist that are just pretty much perfect or perfect. You know, for me, I could have done a run of probably 6 Prince albums quite easily, and various runs of 3 Prince albums outside of that. But because I'm showing Prince a little bit later, I didn't want to show him here. There's quite a few I could have picked. This is sort of an obvious trio, but it is such a great trio that I thought I would show. Off the Wall, Thriller, and Bad. I think one of the reasons I want to show that is because it is just that run of 3 that is perfect. Dangerous then lets it down. History builds it back up again. I do love the History album, and then everything after that I can do without, really. So yeah, 3 fantastic albums there. Question 11 is show an 80s soundtrack. So I thought I would show Absolute Beginners. Film I have a lot of time for when I rewatched this year, because I picked up the Blu-ray of it. Had it on VHS. Never got it on DVD, but picked up the Blu-ray. There's 2 versions of this soundtrack. There's an expanded one with extra tracks, but this is just the single disc version. I have the expanded one on CD. But the title track is probably my joint favourite David Bowie song. Have you ever had It Blue by the Style Council? I absolutely love. Quiet Life by Ray Davies is great. That's Motivation by Bowie. Not as good as Absolute Beginners, but still great. Having It All by Eighth Wonder featuring Patsy Kensit, I really like. Selling Out by Slim Gaillard is excellent. And there's some extra tracks, as I say, on the expanded one, that I like a lot. But yeah, a good soundtrack album. Number 14 is show an album featuring somebody who we sadly lost in 2022. Terry Hall would have been the obvious one. I would have shown his Home album, but I thought I figured quite a few people will be showing Terry Hall. As I record this, I'm about 2 weeks behind on my YouTube watching, although when I saw Rob had posted this tag, I watched that sort of out of sequence. But so I haven't watched any other final tags yet, but I'm guessing quite a few people would have featured Terry Hall. It's not been a terrible year. It's not a year where we've lost loads of greats. When I sort of went through the list, there was lots of people who I didn't really know. But sort of a name other than Terry that stood out for me, and which came as a shock when it happened, was Paul Ryder, Sean's brother from the Happy Mondays. So this is Pills and Thrills and Bellyaches, and this is the lovely HMV splatter vinyl. Yeah, I'm not saying that there weren't some sad losses, but it wasn't one of those years. Yeah, obviously 2016, personally at least, was sort of the worst one, and I think a lot of people would agree with that, where we lost, you know, obviously Prince, Bowie, and many others, George Michael. I didn't think this year was quite as bad. You know, there's lots of high profile deaths, and outside of music there was some sad ones as well, but it's all sad, but it's not the worst year we've had for losing people. Anyway, you know what I mean, I'm sure. Question 15 is a disappointing release from 2022. There's two that really stood out, so I'm going to show them both. Two different reasons. The first one is the reissue of Shakin' Stevens' Merry Christmas Everyone album, which is, well, it was disappointing in two ways. The CD release was meant to have 3 bonus tracks on. That was ballsed up and they never appeared on the CD release, but they've done a repress on that and I've received a replacement and that's all sorted. But my disappointment with this was that it was advertised as a red marble vinyl with that image. The actual vinyl, and they're all like this, looks like that. There you can just see there's some very light white marbling in there. It's not solid red, but it doesn't look anything like the advertised image. So that was a disappointment. But the album, it disappointed me musically, was this album, Mascara Streaks by Altered Images. I sort of mentioned this when I showed off the CD after I'd listened to it. But basically, this does not sound like an Altered Images album. It is a modern dance pop album, Kylie-esque. It's sort of the main vibe I got from it, which obviously as a Kylie fan I don't have an issue with, but it's not what I want from an Altered Images album. I want an Altered Images album to sound like Altered Images, funnily enough. So yeah, I was hugely disappointed in that album. Question number 16 is show a non-vinyl item. I struggled what to show on this, so I've gone for something a bit quirky. So I've had this for years. Many years ago, my mum and her boyfriend went over and did a holiday in Russia. And whilst they were there, I can't remember where it was, might have been St. Petersburg. There was a market stall selling Russian dolls, or babushka dolls, or the other word for them I can't remember. And she picked these up for me. And it's a set of Queen Russian dolls. I've always loved Russian dolls anyway, and I love this set, but what makes it extra special for me is the spelling of Freddie on Freddie Mercury. Freddie Mercury. Then, sorry about the noise. I don't get taken apart that often, as you can tell. Then inside Freddie we have Brian. And John. And Roger. And then my little one just says Queen. But yeah, these have proudly been on display ever since I was bought them, and at the moment they are sitting, well, at the moment they're in my hands, but at the moment they are sitting in front of my Queen records on my shelves. That's my non-vinyl item. Number 17 is a grail. So a grail, for those of you who don't know, is basically just a record that you really want. So my own, I don't have many grails. 3 or 4 tops really. A couple of Prince related ones. And a couple of my favourite albums ever. Well, no, it's a lot. One of my favourite albums ever, and one that I just need to complete a set, but I'm not willing to pay silly money for. But again, I showed this on my records or favourites of the year video. My grail that I bought this year was the Record Store Day release of Prince's Gold Experience, my favourite album of all time. On that video I showed the US version of it, so I thought I'd get out the European version, which is a different vinyl, and in fact the sleeve is a slightly different colour and texture as well to the US version. But I did show and compare them at the time. Once I received my US copy, I'm sure I did a comparison as part of that haul video. Yep, so that's the grail that I bought this year. Question near the bottom. Yeah, question 18 is show a space themed record. So that could be that the title was space related, with space related tracks on it, or the cover is space related. So thought I would show Smart by Sleeper. This is a signed copy of a reissue from a couple of years ago. And again, I just randomly picked one of the copies I had. This is the clear vinyl copy. There's a yellow vinyl I have as well. But yes, as you can see, these are astronauts or cosmonauts. I think they're cosmonaut. Oh no, that looks like Neil Armstrong. I'm guessing they're astronauts then. I think that's Neil Armstrong. I might be wrong. If not, they're cosmonauts, but certainly spacemen. So there's my space-themed record. Question 19 is show some VCLT you've received this year. VCLT, Vinyl Community Love Train. So that's basically gifts from people who watch your channel or other vinyl community members. I've been very fortunate this year and received quite a bit, well, a lot of VCLT from a couple of people in particular. Michael has sent me loads and loads of stuff, including recently. The only reason I'm not showing any of those bits is purely because this particular record I just love the vinyl on. This came from Stephen. This is I keep wanting to call her Ingrid. Sigrid's, I did even filed it incorrectly under I. This is Sigrid's Sucker Punch album from last year, year before, something like that. Very good album. Enjoyed it a lot. But as I say, just absolutely love the vinyl on that one. But again, yeah, thank you to anyone who sent me any VCLT or subscriber mail, which is what Blu-ray and DVD related stuff gets classed as. It's obviously not part of the vinyl community. And BC, which is Blu-ray community, sounds a bit too similar. Question 20. Show an album from 50 years ago, so from 1973. So I've plumped for Fresh by Sly and the Family Stone. I believe this is a 1973 original. If You Want Me to Stay is on here. Skin I'm In. Que Sera Sera and Babies Making Babies. I owned Sly and the Family Stone best ofs. Got a couple of them on CD, a couple of different ones. Ooh, sorry. For a number of years. I find I prefer they're a songs band rather than an albums band, for me, from what I've heard so far. I only have this and There's a Riot Going On, which was a purchase in 2022. I enjoyed them both, but neither of them wowed me as complete albums. That said, I will pick up their albums when I find them. Live, they're fantastic. I have their Woodstock set on vinyl as well, which came out on Record Store Day a while back, a year or two ago, which is absolutely amazing. So don't get me wrong, love Sly and Family Stone, but just album-wise, so far haven't wowed me. So there you go. That's for Vinyl Tag for 2023. If I discover another one that's floating about that's sufficiently different, I might do another Vinyl Tag. I know last year there was 2 going round. But I might not, if there isn't one or if they're too similar. But yeah, thank you, Rob. Great set of 20 questions. Thank you all for watching. Like, comment and subscribe. I'll see you in another video. Thanks. Bye.